Bees demonstrate remarkable numerical abilities that challenge our understanding of animal intelligence, and the proof will make you question everything we thought we knew about tiny brains. In 2025, researchers discovered bees can discriminate between quantities up to 4 and grasp the concept of zero-something that stumps many computer algorithms. Studies found these insects can count backwards through basic addition and even understand abstract mathematical concepts. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Bees achieve these numerical tasks despite having incredibly tiny brains with simple neural networks. These flying mathematicians are performing calculations that would challenge many humans, and we've been treating them like they're just annoying pests. The discoveries about bee intelligence are just the beginning of what 2025 research revealed about animal minds. Octopuses are rewriting computer science. Octopuses are rewriting the rules of computer science with neural networks that make our most advanced systems look primitive. Silicon Valley engineers have been studying these 8-armed creatures after discovering their problem-solving abilities operate on principles that could revolutionize artificial intelligence. The breakthrough came when researchers realized octopuses don't think like humans or computers at all. While we process information in a linear sequence and computers follow predetermined pathways, octopuses use distributed intelligence that operates more like a quantum system. Each of their 8 arms contains roughly 40 million neurons, which is more than most mammals have in their entire brains. These arm brains can taste, touch, and even make basic decisions without consulting the central brain. When an octopus encounters a complex problem, each arm essentially becomes a separate processing unit working on different aspects of the challenge simultaneously. Recent research has shown that cephalopods, including octopuses and cuttlefish, have passed cognitive tests originally designed for human children. Cuttlefish demonstrated episodic-like memory capabilities by remembering what they ate, where they found it, and when the meal occurred. This type of memory was previously thought to exist only in humans and a few other highly intelligent species. The tests revealed that these creatures can plan for future events and make decisions based on past experiences in ways that challenge our understanding of animal cognition. The distributed processing model that octopuses use naturally could revolutionize everything from autonomous vehicles to financial trading algorithms. Traditional computers process information through a central processor that creates bottlenecks when handling multiple complex tasks. Octopus brains eliminate these bottlenecks by spreading the processing load across multiple semi-independent units that work together seamlessly. But the real shocker came when researchers started filming octopuses in group settings. They discovered that octopuses can teach other octopuses complex problem-solving techniques through observation alone. In one experiment, a trained octopus learned to open a series of increasingly complex puzzle boxes. When researchers introduced untrained octopuses to the same enclosure, the trained octopus began demonstrating the solutions. The student octopuses watched intently as the teacher manipulated latches, turned dials, and coordinated multiple arms to access hidden treats inside the boxes. What made this discovery extraordinary was the speed of learning transfer. Human students might need multiple demonstrations and practice sessions to master complex tasks. The student octopuses grasped the concepts after watching just 2 or 3 demonstrations. More incredibly, they began improvising their own solutions based on the teacher's techniques. One student octopus figured out how to open a puzzle box using 6 arms instead of 8, creating a more efficient solution than the teacher had demonstrated. Another student discovered that certain sequences could be performed simultaneously rather than sequentially cutting the solution time in half. The teaching behavior wasn't limited to puzzle solving. Researchers documented octopuses sharing hunting strategies, camouflage techniques, and even social behaviors. Older octopuses would position themselves where younger ones could observe their actions, almost like deliberate instruction. The younger octopuses showed clear learning patterns, adopting successful techniques while discarding ineffective approaches. This level of social learning was previously thought to exist only in highly social mammals like dolphins and primates. The footage revealed something even more remarkable about octopus intelligence. These creatures don't just learn and teach, they actively experiment with new approaches. One octopus spent several days trying different methods to extract food from a container with multiple openings, rather than settling on the first successful technique. The octopus continued testing alternatives, eventually developing 3 distinct methods depending on the type of food involved. This kind of flexible problem solving demonstrates abstract thinking that rivals human cognitive abilities. Tech engineers studying these behaviors realized that octopus intelligence operates on principles completely different from human or artificial intelligence. While humans rely heavily on memory and pattern recognition, octopuses seem to approach each problem as a unique challenge requiring creative solutions. Their distributed neural networks allow them to consider multiple possibilities simultaneously without getting locked into predetermined patterns. This flexibility could be the key to developing AI systems that adapt to new situations rather than simply following programmed responses. The research revealed that octopus problem solving involves a level of coordination between independent processing units that exceeds anything engineers have achieved in distributed computing systems. Each arm can work on separate aspects of a problem while maintaining constant communication with the other arms in the central brain. The coordination happens without any apparent central control system, suggesting that octopus intelligence emerges from the interactions between semi-independent units rather than top-down processing. Companies are now investing millions in octopus-inspired computing architectures. The military has shown particular interest in applying these principles to drone swarm coordination, where multiple units need to work together without central command structures. Financial firms are exploring octopus-based algorithms for high-frequency trading systems that need to process multiple data streams simultaneously. Even video game developers are studying octopus neural networks to create more realistic artificial intelligence for non-player characters. The broader implications extend far beyond technology. Octopus intelligence challenges our fundamental assumptions about consciousness and cognitive ability. These creatures evolved completely independently from vertebrates, yet developed problem-solving capabilities that match or exceed many mammals. Their success at intelligence can emerge from radically different neural architectures than the ones we're familiar with in human and mammalian brains. Perhaps most intriguingly, octopuses might represent our closest encounter with truly alien intelligence. Their neural organization, sensory capabilities, and problem-solving approaches differ so dramatically from terrestrial mammals that studying them could prepare us for recognizing intelligence in forms we might encounter beyond Earth. The distributed processing model that makes octopuses such effective problem solvers could be common among intelligent species that evolved under different conditions than the centralized brain structures we see in vertebrates. The octopus revolution in computer science has only just begun, but it's already clear that these 8-armed geniuses have been operating with biological quantum computing systems for millions of years, while humans are still trying to build their first practical quantum computers. But octopuses aren't the only creatures with remarkable memory systems that challenge our understanding of animal intelligence. Some animals have developed memory capabilities so sophisticated they can hold detailed information about specific individuals for decades. Crows hold grudges for generations. That crow outside your window right now can recognize your face and remember it for the next 20 years. A 2024 Cornell study revealed that crows possess facial recognition abilities so advanced they put most security systems to shame. A crow can spot you in a crowd of hundreds of people and instantly recall whether you've ever posed a threat to them or their family. They don't just remember faces either. They catalog voices, walking patterns, and even the clothes you wear. One researcher found that crows could identify her even when she changed her hair color, wore sunglasses, and walked with a completely different gait. The crow brain stores human faces with remarkable precision, maintaining detailed records of every person they've encountered. The Cornell research revealed something far more chilling about crow memory. These birds don't keep their grudges to themselves. They pass down detailed information about threatening humans to their children and grandchildren. Crow parents conduct what researchers describe as intelligence briefings with their offspring, sharing specific details about dangerous people in their territory. A crow chick that's never seen you before will know to avoid you if their parents or grandparents had a bad experience with you years earlier. The information transfer happens through complex vocalizations that include detailed descriptions of the threatening person's appearance, behavior, and usual locations. Research teams studying crow families discovered they maintain comprehensive records spanning multiple generations. These records contain detailed information about every human interaction, including the severity of each threat, the specific actions taken, and the outcomes. Crows categorize humans into different threat levels, from mildly annoying to extremely dangerous. A person who accidentally startled a crow might earn a low-level caution rating, while someone who destroyed a crow nest gets flagged as a maximum threat. The family passes down these ratings with remarkable accuracy, ensuring that even great-grandchildren know which humans to fear. The most shocking proof came from controlled experiments where researchers tested inherited grudges. Scientists wore masks depicting faces of people who had threatened crow families months earlier. The current generation of crows had never encountered these masked researchers, yet they immediately launched coordinated attacks. Young crows who had only heard stories about these threatening faces recognized a mask instantly and responded with aggressive behavior. The attacks weren't random either. They showed clear strategy with multiple crows approaching from different angles while others served as lookouts. Researchers hiding in blinds with recording equipment documented crow intelligence briefings happening in real time. They watched as adult crows gathered young family members for what appeared to be formal threat assessment meetings. The adult crows would produce specific alarm calls while pointing toward locations where dangerous humans had been spotted. They used different vocalizations to describe different types of threats with distinct calls for humans who throw objects versus those who use tools versus those who approach nests. The young crows listened intently and practiced the appropriate response calls until they could accurately reproduce the warning signals. The vocal communication system crows use for sharing threat information rivals human language in complexity. Different crow families have developed regional dialects for describing human threats with specific terms for various dangerous behaviors. A crow warning about a human with a pellet gun uses completely different vocalizations than one alerting others about someone who destroys nests. Researchers recorded over 40 distinct threat-related calls that crows use to provide detailed descriptions of dangerous individuals to their community members. These calls include information about the person's size, age, approximate threat level, and typical behavior patterns. Anyone who has ever bothered a crow should be genuinely concerned, because crow grudges extend far beyond the original incident. Crows remember not just the person who wronged them, but everything associated with that person. They hold grudges against specific vehicles, tools, clothing items, and even locations connected to threatening humans. One documented case involved a crow family that attacked every red pickup truck in their territory for 3 years after a person driving a similar vehicle destroyed their nest. Another crow community learned to fear anyone wearing baseball caps after a cap-wearing person repeatedly harassed their roosting site. The coordinated attack behaviors crows display when targeting specific humans demonstrate sophisticated planning and communication abilities. Researchers document cases where crow families organized multi-stage attacks on individuals who had wronged them. The attacks typically begin with surveillance, where scout crows track the target person's daily routines and identify vulnerable moments. Then groups of crows coordinate simultaneous approaches from multiple directions, making escape difficult. Some attacks involve dive bombing, while others focus on intimidation through loud vocalizations and aggressive posturing. One particularly well-documented case involved a crow family in Seattle that organized systematic harassment of a postal worker who had accidentally damaged their nest while trimming tree branches. The crows learned the mail carrier's route and schedule, then positioned themselves at strategic points along the path. Every day for over 2 years, multiple crows would swoop down and attack this specific postal worker while ignoring other mail carriers on adjacent routes. The harassment only stopped when the Postal Service assigned a different person to that route, and the crows apparently decided the threat had been eliminated. The grudge-holding behavior extends to objects and locations with startling specificity. Crows in one study area learned to attack anyone carrying pruning shears after witnessing these tools being used to remove their nesting sites. The birds could distinguish pruning shears from similar-looking tools and would ignore people carrying hedge clippers or garden shears while aggressively pursuing anyone with a specific type of pruning equipment. They also developed location-based grudges, avoiding certain parks or streets where they had encountered threats even years after the original incidents occurred. The most unsettling aspect of crow grudges is their permanence and inheritance patterns. Crow researchers who studied the same families for decades found that grudges can persist for over 20 years and get passed down through at least 4 generations. A person who wronged a crow as a teenager might find themselves being attacked by that crow's great-grandchildren when they reach middle age. The grudges don't fade with time either. They remain as strong and specific as when they were first formed. But crows aren't the only animals with sophisticated social memory systems. Other creatures have developed equally complex ways of tracking individual relationships and maintaining detailed social records that span years or even decades. Dolphins have names and gossip networks. Dolphins represent the pinnacle of marine social intelligence with communication systems that rival human complexity. Every dolphin has a personal name. They use their entire lives and they gossip about each other more than teenagers at summer camp. In 2025, researchers finally cracked the code on dolphin signature whistles and discovered these aren't just random sounds, but carefully crafted individual names that each dolphin creates during their first year of life. These whistle signatures work exactly like human names, with each dolphin developing a unique acoustic pattern that identifies them to every other dolphin in their social network. The signature whistles are so consistent that researchers can identify individual dolphins just by listening to their calls, even when they can't see which dolphin is making the sound. The naming system gets even more sophisticated when you realize dolphins don't just use their own names. They actively call other dolphins by name during conversations. Underwater microphones placed throughout dolphin habitats captured thousands of hours of dolphin communications, revealing that they frequently use each other's signature whistles when talking. When a dolphin wants to get another dolphin's attention, they produce that individual's unique whistle signature, essentially saying their name before starting a conversation. This behavior mirrors exactly how humans use names in social interactions, calling someone's name to address them directly during group conversations. But dolphins take their naming conventions far beyond simple identification. They modify other dolphins' signature whistles in subtle ways that seem to convey different meanings or emotions. A dolphin might produce another dolphin's name whistle with slight variations that researchers believe indicate affection, annoyance, or urgency. These modifications function like tone of voice in human speech, where the same name can sound different depending on the speaker's emotional state or intentions. Young dolphins spend months learning not just their own signature whistles, but also the names and variations of every dolphin in their social group. The real shocker came when researchers analyzed what dolphins actually talk about during their conversations. Using advanced pattern recognition software, scientists decoded thousands of dolphin interactions and discovered they engage in detailed discussions about other dolphins' behaviors, relationships, and social status. Dolphins share information about who is friends with whom, which dolphins have been fighting, and even details about romantic relationships within their pods. They discuss other dolphins' hunting success, social connections, and reputation within the community, just like humans might gossip about coworkers or neighbors. These dolphin gossip sessions follow predictable patterns, with certain dolphins serving as primary information sources while others act as eager listeners. Some dolphins appear to specialize in gathering and sharing social information, spending significant time swimming between different groups and exchanging updates about pod dynamics. The information sharing isn't random. Either dolphin selectively shares certain types of information with specific individuals, suggesting they understand social hierarchies and the potential consequences of spreading particular details. Researchers documented dolphins forming alliances based on shared information about other dolphins' behavior. Two dolphins might team up against a third dolphin after sharing negative information about that individual's past actions. These alliances can last for months or even years, with the allied dolphins coordinating their activities and supporting each other during conflicts. The alliance formation happens entirely through vocal communication, with dolphins apparently negotiating partnerships through extended conversations about mutual interests and shared concerns about other pod members. The social ostracism behavior dolphins display rivals anything seen in human high. Schools. When a dolphin violates social norms or behaves aggressively toward popular pod members, other dolphins coordinate to exclude that individual from group activities. The ostracism involves refusing to share food, ignoring attempts at social interaction, and actively swimming away when the outcast dolphin approaches. This behavior can continue for weeks or months until the excluded dolphin modifies their behavior to regain acceptance within the group. Dolphins maintain detailed memories of past events and regularly discuss things that happened months or even years earlier. Researchers recorded conversations where dolphins appeared to be recounting specific incidents from their shared history, referencing particular hunting expeditions, conflicts with other pods, or successful collaborative activities. These historical discussions often involve multiple dolphins contributing different perspectives on the same events, creating a collective narrative about their shared experiences. The complexity of dolphin social networks extends across vast ocean territories, with individual dolphins maintaining relationships with hundreds of other dolphins spread across different pods and regions. When dolphin groups meet after months of separation, they engage in extended greeting ceremonies that include exchanging social updates about mutual acquaintances. These reunion conversations can last for hours, with dolphins sharing information about births, deaths, changes in social status, and significant events that occurred during their time apart. The most remarkable discovery was how dolphins coordinate their social information across multiple pods. Dolphins who travel between different groups serve as living newspapers carrying gossip and social updates from one pod to another. These traveling dolphins have excellent memories for social details and can provide comprehensive updates about dozens of individuals' current status, relationships, and recent activities. The information network created by these traveling dolphins allows pod members to maintain awareness of social dynamics across hundreds of miles of ocean territory. Young dolphins learn the art of social information gathering by watching adult dolphins during their gossip sessions. Juvenile dolphins practice producing other dolphins' signature whistles and gradually learn which types of information are valuable to share and which dolphins are reliable sources of accurate social intelligence. The learning process takes several years, with young dolphins making social mistakes until they master the complex rules governing information sharing within their community. The social intelligence dolphins display through their naming and gossip systems demonstrates cognitive abilities that challenge our understanding of animal consciousness and communication. These marine mammals have created social networks that rival human communities in their complexity, emotional depth, and long-term consequences for individual members. But dolphins aren't the only animals that display profound emotional intelligence and complex social behaviors that mirror human experiences in unexpected ways. Elephants demonstrate remarkable intelligence that challenges many assumptions about animal cognition. Recent research has debunked several long-standing myths about animal behavior while revealing genuine examples of sophisticated problem-solving abilities. The ostrich myth about burying heads in sand finally got put to rest when researchers discovered these birds actually lower their heads to the ground for practical reasons like swallowing sand and pebbles to aid digestion or carefully turning over eggs in their nests. They don't bury their heads completely because that would prevent them from breathing, and ostriches are actually quite intelligent birds that flee from danger or fight back when threatened. Asian elephants have shown remarkable puzzle-solving capabilities in controlled research environments. Scientists presented elephants with complex mechanical puzzles that required multiple steps to access hidden food rewards. The elephants demonstrated they could understand cause and effect relationships by manipulating different components in the correct sequence to achieve their goals. Some elephants figured out solutions that even surprised the researchers by finding more efficient approaches than the intended methods. These problem-solving sessions revealed that elephants can plan ahead and modify their strategies based on previous attempts. The intelligence testing revealed elephants possess exceptional spatial memory and can navigate complex environments using mental maps that span enormous territories. Researchers tracked elephant families across hundreds of miles and discovered they maintain detailed knowledge of seasonal water sources, food locations, and safe travel routes. The elephants demonstrated they could adjust their routes based on changing conditions like drought or human activity while still reaching their intended destinations. This navigation ability requires processing vast amounts of environmental information and making strategic decisions about the safest and most efficient paths to take. Tool use among elephants extends far beyond the simple stick manipulation that researchers initially documented. Elephants have been observed modifying branches to create specific tools for different tasks like scratching hard to reach places or extracting food from narrow spaces. They select appropriate materials based on the task requirements, choosing flexible branches for some jobs and rigid ones for others. Some elephants even prepare tools in advance, carrying modified branches with them as they travel in anticipation of future needs. The social learning capabilities elephants display during problem-solving sessions demonstrate sophisticated knowledge transfer between family members. When one elephant discovers an effective solution to a puzzle or challenge, other family members observe carefully and quickly adopt the successful technique. Young elephants spend considerable time watching adult problem-solving behaviors and practicing the techniques they observe. The learning process involves active teaching, with adult elephants positioning themselves so younger family members can observe their actions clearly. Elephant families maintain complex social hierarchies that influence how knowledge gets shared within the group. The matriarchs typically serve as primary decision-makers and information sources, but they actively encourage input from other experienced family members when facing challenging situations. Younger elephants gradually earn more responsibilities. They demonstrate competence in various tasks and prove they can contribute valuable insights to group problem-solving efforts. The social structure ensures that knowledge accumulates across generations while still allowing for innovation and adaptation. The communication systems elephants use during collaborative problem-solving involve subtle signals that coordinate group activities without alerting potential threats to their presence. Elephants produce low-frequency rumbles that travel long distances, allowing separated family members to share information about discoveries or dangers. They also use tactile communication through trunk touches and body positioning to convey specific messages during close-range interactions. These communication methods enable elephants to work together effectively on complex tasks that require coordination between multiple individuals. Research teams studying elephant cognition discovered these animals can recognize themselves in mirrors, demonstrating self-awareness that was previously thought to exist only in humans and a few other highly intelligent species. The mirror recognition test revealed elephants understand that the reflection represents their own image rather than another elephant. They use mirrors to examine parts of their bodies they normally cannot see and show clear recognition when researchers place marks on their faces that are only visible in the reflection. This self-awareness suggests elephants possess a level of consciousness that enables them to understand their own identity and place within their social environment. The emotional intelligence elephants display during social interactions rivals that of many primates and demonstrates their capacity for empathy and compassion toward family members. Elephants provide comfort to distressed relatives through physical contact and vocalizations that seem designed to reduce anxiety and stress. They show obvious concern when family members are injured or separated from the group and actively work to reunite separated individuals with their families. This emotional responsiveness indicates elephants understand the feelings and needs of other elephants and are motivated to provide assistance when needed. The research into elephant intelligence has revealed cognitive abilities that were completely unexpected and challenge our understanding of animal consciousness. These discoveries about elephant problem-solving, social learning, and emotional intelligence represent just the beginning of what scientists are learning about animal minds. The sophisticated behaviors elephants display suggest that many other animals might possess cognitive abilities that we haven't yet recognized or properly studied. As researchers develop better methods for studying animal intelligence, they continue discovering that the natural world contains forms of consciousness and intelligence that operate in ways completely different from human cognition. Rats laugh when you tickle them. Among the most surprising discoveries about animal emotions came from studying creatures we typically consider pests. Rats have been producing ultrasonic laughter this whole time, but we couldn't hear them until scientists developed recording equipment sensitive enough to capture their joy. These tiny squeaks of happiness happen at frequencies around 50 kilohertz, which is completely above human hearing range. So we've been missing out on rat expressions of amusement happening right under our noses. The breakthrough came from a 2019 study published in Science Advances where researchers were studying rat social behaviors and noticed their equipment was picking up rhythmic ultrasonic patterns every time the rats engaged in playful activities. When scientists slowed down the recordings and converted them to frequencies, humans can hear they discovered unmistakable patterns that match the timing and structure of laughter. The 50 kilohertz calls occurred consistently during tickling sessions and social play between rats, suggesting these vocalizations represent genuine expressions of positive emotion rather than simple reflexive responses to stimulation. The research revealed that rats don't just make these sounds randomly, they produce them specifically during activities that appear to bring them pleasure and enjoyment. The recording technology revealed that rats actively seek out tickling sessions from researchers they know and trust. Laboratory rats would approach familiar scientists and perform specific behaviors that researchers learned to recognize as requests for interaction. The rats would lie on their backs, expose their bellies, and make soft chirping sounds while looking directly at the humans. When the researchers responded by gently tickling the rats' bellies, the ultrasonic recording equipment captured bursts of high-frequency calls that followed patterns similar to human laughter, with short bursts separated by brief pauses and increasing intensity during particularly enjoyable moments. Scientists discovered that rat responses aren't just reflexive reactions to physical stimulation. These animals show genuine selectivity about their social interactions. The research revealed that rats are extremely choosy about who they allow to engage them in play, showing clear preferences for researchers they trust and bond with over time. New laboratory workers couldn't elicit the same ultrasonic responses from the rats, no matter how gently they attempted interaction sessions. The rats would tolerate the contact, but wouldn't produce the calls that indicated genuine enjoyment. However, rats that had developed relationships with specific researchers over weeks or months would immediately begin producing the characteristic sounds when those trusted humans approached for play sessions. This selectivity suggests that rat vocalizations during play involve emotional trust and social bonding rather than simple physical responses. The 50 kilohertz calls appear to serve important social functions within rat communities, helping to strengthen relationships and maintain group cohesion. Researchers observed that rats engaging in regular play sessions with specific companions, the vocalizations seem to act as social signals that reduce tension and build trust between individuals. Rats engage in playful behaviors with each other that produce the same ultrasonic call patterns they make during human interactions. Researchers documented rats participating in chase games, wrestling matches, and surprise encounters that consistently triggered the 50 kilohertz vocalizations. The calls occur most frequently during moments of peak excitement or enjoyment, suggesting they represent genuine expressions of positive emotional states. Some rats develop increasingly elaborate play behaviors over time, indicating they actively sought out activities that would produce these pleasurable experiences. Training experiments revealed that rats can learn to anticipate enjoyable events and will produce the characteristic calls before physical contact occurs. Researchers taught rats to associate specific sounds or visual cues with upcoming play sessions. The rats began making 50 kilohertz calls as soon as they detected these signals before any interaction started. This anticipatory response indicates that rats understand calls and affect relationships related to positive experiences and can feel emotional pleasure from expecting something enjoyable to happen. Different types of play activities produce distinct patterns in the ultrasonic recordings that researchers learned to distinguish through careful analysis. Tickling sessions generated rapid bursts of short calls, while wrestling play between rats created longer sustained vocalizations. Chase games produced intermittent calls that coincided with particularly exciting moments like sudden direction changes or successful interactions. The variety in vocalization patterns suggests that rats experience different types of positive emotions and can express these states through their calls. Young rats learn these vocalization behaviors by observing and imitating adult rats during social interactions. Juvenile rats initially produced crude versions of the calls that gradually became more sophisticated as they practiced during play sessions. The learning process involved both physical coordination of the vocal mechanisms and social understanding of when the vocalizations were appropriate. Young rats raised without exposure to adult play behaviors showed delayed development of proper call responses, suggesting this represents learned social communication rather than purely instinctive behavior. The discovery that rats produce these ultrasonic calls during positive experiences challenges assumptions about which animals possess complex emotional lives. The capacity for expressing joy and seeking out pleasurable social interactions was previously thought to be limited to more cognitively advanced species. Finding genuine expressions of happiness in rodents suggests that positive emotional experiences might be much more widespread in the animal kingdom than scientists previously believed. Individual rats show distinct patterns in their vocalizations, just like humans have unique ways of expressing emotions. Some rats produce rapid, high-pitched calls, while others make longer, more sustained sounds. The individual differences remain consistent over time, allowing researchers to identify specific rats just by analyzing their vocal patterns. This suggests that rats have individual personalities that influence how they express positive emotions and engage in social interactions. The health benefits associated with these positive social experiences appear to extend to rats just as they do to other social animals. Rats that engaged in regular play sessions showed lower stress hormone levels, improved immune system function, and better overall physical condition compared to rats without playful social interactions. The research indicates that positive emotional experiences serve important biological functions that contribute to overall well-being and health. These findings about rat emotional complexity represent just one example of how modern technology is revealing hidden aspects of animal consciousness that were previously invisible to human observation. As recording equipment becomes more sophisticated, researchers continue discovering that many creatures experience rich emotional lives that operate at frequencies and in ways we're only beginning to understand. Spiders dream and have nightmares. The sophisticated recording equipment that revealed rat emotions has opened doors to studying consciousness in creatures we never imagined possess complex inner lives. Jumping spiders represent one of the most remarkable examples of how modern technology is revolutionizing our understanding of animal cognition. Despite having brains smaller than a pinhead, these 8-legged hunters exhibit sleep cycles that include a phase resembling rapid eye movement sleep, similar to what humans experience during dreams. Researchers studying jumping spider behavior noticed these creatures would remain motionless for extended periods, but their legs would suddenly start making coordinated movements that perfectly match their hunting sequences. When scientists investigated further, they realized the spiders were actually asleep, and their leg movements suggested they might be experiencing something analogous to dreams. The discovery challenged everything. Researchers thought they knew about which animals possessed the neural complexity necessary for sophisticated sleep states. Microscopic cameras positioned around sleeping jumping spiders captured detailed footage of their rest behaviors. The recordings revealed that spider legs don't just twitch randomly during sleep, but perform coordinated movements that mirror their waking hunting behaviors. The front legs would move in scanning patterns as if the spider was visually tracking prey, while the back legs would position themselves for jumping. Researchers could identify different types of hunting scenarios based on the specific leg movement patterns they observed during these sleep episodes. Scientists developed incredibly sensitive equipment to monitor spider brain activity during rest periods. The neural activity pattern showed periods of intense electrical activity followed by quieter phases, suggesting these tiny creatures experienced different stages of sleep, similar to larger animals. The strongest electrical patterns occurred in brain regions responsible for visual processing and motor control, which corresponded with the hunting-like movements observed during their rest periods. The most intriguing discovery was that spiders appeared to replay specific hunting sequences during their sleep states. Researchers who had observed the same spiders during their active periods could recognize particular hunting episodes being repeated during rest. A spider that had spent the day unsuccessfully pursuing prey would repeat similar movement patterns during sleep, sometimes with variations that suggested the spider was processing different approaches to the same challenge. Young spiders showed more active movement patterns during sleep than older spiders, suggesting these rest periods might play important roles in learning and skill development. Spiders exposed to new types of prey during their active periods would spend more time in the active sleep phase than night, and their movements would incorporate the new hunting strategies they had attempted. This pattern suggested that sleep processing helped spiders consolidate their hunting experiences and refine their techniques. Different spider species exhibited dramatically different sleep movement patterns that corresponded directly to their unique hunting and social behaviors. Web-building spiders showed movements focused on silk manipulation and web construction, while hunting spiders displayed stalking and pouncing behaviors typical of their predatory lifestyle. Social spider species that live in colonies had more complex movement patterns during sleep, while solitary species primarily showed hunting and territory defense behaviors. The implications of discovering complex sleep states in creatures with such tiny brains challenges traditional assumptions about consciousness and cognitive complexity. Spider brains contain approximately 100,000 neurons compared to the billions found in mammalian brains, yet they demonstrate sleep processing that was previously thought to require much larger neural networks. This discovery suggests that consciousness and complex cognitive functions might not depend on brain size as much as scientists previously believed. During certain sleep phases, spiders would exhibit erratic movements that differ completely from their normal hunting-related behaviors. Their legs would curl up defensively or make frantic movements as if they were fleeing from threats. The brain activity patterns during these episodes showed responses that resembled stress reactions observed in larger animals during disturbing experiences. Some spiders would wake abruptly from these states and remain in alert defensive postures before returning to normal rest. The research revealed that spider sleep behaviors aren't just simple replays of daily activities, but involve processing that indicates genuine cognitive function. Spiders would show movement patterns during sleep that represented hunting situations they had never actually encountered, suggesting they might use rest periods to mentally rehearse responses to hypothetical challenges. Some spiders displayed combinations of hunting techniques they had learned separately, indicating they were creatively combining different strategies during sleep processing. Spider sleep research is forcing scientists to completely redefine what constitutes consciousness and mental complexity in the animal kingdom. The traditional view held that sophisticated cognitive functions required large brains with complex neural architecture. Finding these abilities in spiders with relatively simple nervous systems suggests that consciousness might emerge from the organization and activity patterns of neurons rather than their total number. The emotional aspects of spider sleep became apparent when researchers observed that spiders showed different behaviors after various types of rest episodes. Spiders that had active hunting-related sleep would wake up more energetic, while spiders that experienced the defensive episodes would remain cautious for extended periods after waking. These behavioral responses suggested that spiders don't just mechanically process information during rest, but might actually experience something analogous to emotions related to their sleep scenarios. The discovery that creatures with brains smaller than a pinhead might have complex inner lives fundamentally changes how we think about consciousness and mental complexity throughout the animal kingdom. If spiders can experience sophisticated sleep states and process complex information during rest, then many other creatures might possess rich cognitive abilities that we haven't recognized because we assume they lack the neural complexity for such experiences. These revelations about animal consciousness extend far beyond individual species and suggest that complex communication and cultural behaviors might be more widespread
Whales
in
have
nature
accents
than
and
anyone
dialects.
previously imagined. Whales demonstrate the most sophisticated vocal communication systems found anywhere in the ocean, with distinct accents and dialects that vary dramatically between different populations. Scientists mapping whale dialects across entire ocean basins have revealed that these massive creatures don't just make random sounds. They speak distinct regional languages that are as different from each other as British English is from Southern American English. Researchers used underwater recording stations positioned throughout the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans to capture thousands of hours of whale conversations. And when they analyzed the patterns, they discovered that whale families living just a few hundred miles apart sound completely different from each other. The mapping project uncovered whale dialect boundaries that follow ocean currents, feeding grounds, and migration routes, creating linguistic regions that span thousands of square miles. Humpback whales off the coast of Hawaii produce song patterns that are completely distinct from humpback whales near Alaska, even though they're the same species. The Hawaiian whales use longer, more complex melodies with intricate variations that can last for 30 minutes, while the Alaskan whales communicate with shorter, more direct song patterns that focus on specific frequency ranges. When researchers played recordings of Hawaiian whale songs to Alaskan whales, the northern whales showed obvious confusion and failed to respond appropriately to the communication attempts. Recent research has revealed that sperm whale clicks contain phoneme-like elements similar to the building blocks of human language. These clicking patterns aren't random noise, but structured communication systems where individual clicks combine to create more complex meanings. Different sperm whale populations use distinct clicking patterns that function like regional dialects, with each group maintaining unique vocal signatures that distinguish them from other communities. The discovery that whale vocalizations contain language-like elements suggests these marine mammals have developed communication complexity that rivals human linguistic systems. Whale families pass down their specific vocal traditions through generations, creating cultural inheritance patterns that mirror how human families teach their children to speak. Baby whales don't instinctively know how to produce the complex songs and calls used by their species. Instead, they learn these patterns by listening to their mothers and other pod members for months or even years. The learning process involves young whales practicing simplified versions of adult songs, gradually adding complexity and regional variations as they mature. Mother whales actively teach their calves by repeating specific song phrases and waiting for the young whales to attempt their own versions before providing what appears to be vocal feedback and correction. The discovery that whale vocalizations evolve and change over time came from comparing recordings made decades apart. Researchers found that whale songs from the 1970s sound noticeably different from recordings of the same whale populations made in recent years. The changes aren't random either. They follow predictable patterns where certain melodic phrases become more popular while others fade away completely. Some whale populations have adopted entirely new song elements that didn't exist in their traditional repertoire, while others have modified existing calls to create novel variations that spread throughout their communities. Young whales learn their regional dialects through an intensive social process that involves multiple adult teachers and extensive practice sessions. The education begins when calves are just a few weeks old, with mother whales producing simplified versions of their songs specifically designed for teaching purposes. As the young whales grow older, they join larger groups where they hear more complex song variations and learn to distinguish between different types of calls used for various purposes. The learning process can take several years, with some whales not mastering their full regional dialect until they reach sexual maturity. The most alarming discovery from recent research was that some whale dialects are disappearing forever as populations decline due to climate change, ship strikes, and ocean pollution. Entire communities of whales with unique vocal traditions have been reduced to just a few individuals who can no longer maintain their cultural practices. The North Atlantic right whale population has lost several distinct song variations that were documented in recordings from the 1990s because the whales who knew those songs have died without successfully teaching them to younger generations. When whale populations drop below critical thresholds, they lose the social structure necessary to maintain their complex vocal traditions.
Whales from different
Regions struggle to communicate effectively when they encounter each other during migration or feeding activities. Researchers document several instances where whale groups from different dialect regions attempted to interact but failed to understand each other's vocalizations. Pacific gray whales that migrated into Atlantic waters show confusion when they encountered Atlantic whale populations, and their communication attempts were largely ignored or misinterpreted. The language barriers between whale populations can affect mating success, social bonding, and cooperative feeding behaviors that are essential for their survival. Researchers are now creating comprehensive whale dialect dictionaries to preserve these vocal traditions before they disappear completely. The dictionary project involves cataloging every distinct song pattern, call variation, and regional accent found in whale populations worldwide. Scientists are using artificial intelligence to analyze the acoustic patterns and identify the subtle differences that distinguish one dialect from another. The dictionaries include detailed descriptions of when each type of call is used, what meanings the different variations convey, and how young whales learn to produce these complex vocalizations. The research revealed that whale cultural diversity rivals the complexity found in human societies, with different populations developing distinct traditions, customs, and communication styles based on their geographic locations and environmental conditions. The cultural transmission of these vocal traditions requires stable social groups and extended learning periods that allow young whales to master the complex communication systems used by their communities. The discovery that whales maintain such sophisticated linguistic diversity demonstrates that marine mammals have developed cultural systems that have evolved over countless generations, but whales aren't the only creatures that have mastered complex systems that put human achievements to shame. Ants farm and domesticate other insects. Leafcutter ants have been running the most successful farming operation on Earth for 50 million years, and they make human agriculture look like amateur hour. These tiny insects figured out sustainable farming techniques that we're still trying to master, and they did it when dinosaurs were still walking around. The leafcutter ants don't actually eat the leaves they cut. Instead, they use them as compost to grow fungus in massive underground gardens that can feed colonies of millions of ants. They've been practicing organic farming, selective breeding, and crop rotation since before mammals even existed, and their success rate puts every human farmer to shame. But farming isn't the only agricultural skill ants have mastered. They've also domesticated other insects and treat them exactly like humans treat dairy cows. Ants keep herds of aphids that they milk for honeydew, which is basically ant candy because it's loaded with sugar. The ants protect their aphid herds from predators, move them to fresh plants when the current ones get eaten up, and even build shelters to keep them safe during bad weather. Some ant species actually carry their aphids into their underground nests during winter to keep them alive through the cold months, then bring them back outside when spring arrives. It's exactly like humans bringing cattle into barns, except ants figured this out millions of years before humans invented agriculture. Recent research revealed that ants use crop rotation, pest control, and selective breeding techniques that rival what modern farmers do with tractors and computers. Leafcutter ants divide their fungus gardens into different sections and rotate which areas they plant new crops in to prevent soil depletion. They carefully monitor their fungus crops and remove any sections that show signs of disease or poor growth. The ants even practice selective breeding by choosing the healthiest fungus strains to propagate in new garden areas while eliminating weaker varieties that don't produce enough food for the colony. The pest control methods ants use are more sophisticated than most human farming operations because they've developed partnerships with antibiotic-producing bacteria that protect their crops from harmful diseases. These bacteria live on the ants' bodies and secrete natural antibiotics that kill dangerous microorganisms before they can damage the fungus gardens. The ants actually cultivate these beneficial bacteria and pass them down through generations to ensure their crops stay healthy. It's like having a personal pharmaceutical company that produces custom antibiotics for your specific farming needs, and the ants have been doing this for millions of years. Some ant species have taken domestication so far that they've created genetic modifications in their aphid livestock through selective breeding programs that span thousands of generations. The aphids that live with ants are now completely different from their wild relatives because the ants have bred them to produce more honey, do have less mobility so they can't escape, and show reduced defensive behaviors since the ants handle all their protection. These domesticated aphids are basically living honeydew factories that exist solely to serve their ant masters, and they can't survive in the wild anymore because they've lost most of their natural survival instincts. The underground gardens ants maintain have climate control systems that make human greenhouses primitive by comparison. Ants regulate temperature, humidity, and air circulation in their fungus gardens using sophisticated ventilation systems that include air shafts, cooling chambers, and humidity controls. They position their gardens at specific depths underground where temperatures remain stable year-round, and they dig ventilation tunnels that create air currents to prevent fungus diseases caused by stagnant air. Some species even use solar heating by creating chambers near the surface that collect warmth during the day, then distribute it to deeper garden areas to their tunnel systems. Ant farming involves extensive teaching programs where experienced workers train younger ants in proper agricultural techniques through hands-on demonstrations and supervised practice sessions. The older ants show younger workers how to cut leaves into the right sizes for composting, which types of fungus are healthy and which areas of the garden need attention. Young ants spend weeks learning how to tend the fungus crops before they're allowed to work independently, and they continue receiving guidance from experienced farmers throughout their careers. The knowledge transfer is so complete that ant colonies can maintain their farming operations for decades, even as individual ants die and get replaced by new workers. Ant farming practices are completely sustainable because they recycle all waste products, use renewable resources, and maintain ecological balance in their environments. The ants never overharvest their resources. Instead, they carefully manage their leaf collection to ensure the trees they depend on remain healthy. They compose all organic waste from their colonies and use it to fertilize their fungus gardens, creating a closed-loop system where nothing gets wasted. The ants also maintain the health of their local ecosystems by controlling pest populations and distributing seeds from the plants they harvest, which helps maintain forest diversity. The agricultural techniques ants developed include water management systems that collect and distribute moisture throughout their underground farms using sophisticated irrigation networks. They dig channels that direct rainwater to storage areas, then use capillary action and carefully design gradients to distribute water evenly to all garden sections. Some species create underground reservoirs that store water during dry periods and release it gradually to keep their crops healthy during droughts. The water management is so precise that ant colonies can maintain their fungus gardens even during extended dry seasons when surface vegetation is dying from lack of moisture. The fact that ants mastered sustainable agriculture 50 million years before humans existed should make us question everything we think we know about farming and intelligence. These insects developed complex agricultural systems that support massive populations without depleting their resources or damaging their environments. They figured out how to domesticate other species, create sustainable food production systems, and maintain complex supply chains using nothing but instinct and millions of years of evolutionary refinement. While humans are still struggling to develop truly sustainable farming practices that don't destroy soil and water resources, ants have been running perfectly sustainable agricultural operations since before grass even existed on Earth. But ants aren't the only creatures that have developed sophisticated social systems that involve complex communication and family structures that challenge our understanding of animal intelligence. Parrots name their babies. Among the most remarkable examples of avian intelligence comes from studying how birds develop their complex vocal communication systems. Zebra finches demonstrate sophisticated learning processes that challenge our understanding of how animals acquire language-like abilities. These small songbirds don't instinctively know how to produce the complex songs that define their species. Instead, they learn these intricate vocal patterns through extended practice sessions with adult teachers who serve as vocal mentors throughout their development. Young zebra finches begin their vocal education by producing what researchers call subsong, which sounds remarkably similar to human baby babbling. The juvenile birds make random sounds and vocal experiments as they try to imitate the adult songs they hear around them. This babbling phase can last for several weeks, with young finches practicing different sound combinations and gradually refining their vocal abilities. The learning process involves intense listening sessions where young birds pay careful attention to adult songs and attempt to reproduce specific melodic phrases and rhythmic patterns. The teaching methods adult zebra finches use with their students involve sophisticated feedback systems that help young birds improve their vocal performance. Adult finches will repeat specific song phrases multiple times when teaching, allowing young birds to hear the correct patterns repeatedly. When juvenile finches make progress toward producing accurate song elements, the adults respond with encouraging calls and continued instruction. If young birds struggle with particular song components, the adults break down complex phrases into smaller segments and practice each element separately until the student masters the complete sequence. Research has revealed that zebra-finch song learning involves critical periods during development when young birds are most receptive to vocal instruction. Birds that miss these learning windows during their youth often struggle to develop proper songs throughout their lives. The critical period typically occurs when birds are between 30 and 90 days old, and exposure to adult song models during this time is essential for normal vocal development. Young finches raised without proper song teachers during this period often develop abnormal vocalizations that other birds don't recognize or respond to appropriately. The complexity of zebrafinch vocal learning extends beyond simple imitation to include creative elements where young birds combine different song components in novel ways. Students don't just copy their teachers exactly. Instead, they often blend elements from multiple adult songs to create their own unique vocal signatures. This creative process allows each bird to develop an individual song identity while maintaining the core structural elements that identify them as members of their species. The balance between imitation and innovation in zebrafinch song learning mirrors the way human children learn language by copying adults while also creating their own unique expressions. Different zebrafinch populations have developed distinct song dialects that vary based on geographic location and social group membership. Birds from different regions produce songs with recognizable regional characteristics that other finches can identify and respond to accordingly. These dialect differences aren't random variations, but structured patterns that get passed down through generations of vocal learning within specific communities. Young birds learn the dialect patterns specific to their local population, ensuring that regional song traditions continue across multiple generations. The social aspects of zebrafinch vocal learning involve complex interactions between multiple adult teachers and student birds within the same community. Young finches don't learn from just one adult teacher. Instead, they listen to and learn from multiple song models within their social group. This exposure to multiple teachers allows young birds to develop more sophisticated vocal abilities and provides them with a broader range of song elements to incorporate into their own vocalizations. The multi-teacher learning system also ensures that song traditions get transmitted accurately, even if individual teachers are lost from the community. Adult zebra finches continue refining their vocal abilities throughout their lives, adapting their songs based on social interactions and environmental changes. Mated pairs often develop synchronized song patterns that strengthen their pair bonds, while males competing for territory might modify their songs to sound more impressive or distinctive. The ongoing vocal plasticity in adult birds demonstrates that song learning isn't limited to juvenile development, but continues as an active process throughout the bird's lives. The neurological mechanisms underlying zebrafinch vocal learning have provided insights into how complex communication systems develop in animal brains. Researchers have identified specific brain regions that control different aspects of song learning and production, revealing neural pathways that show remarkable similarities to language processing areas in human brains. The discovery that songbirds and humans use similar neural mechanisms for vocal learning suggests that complex communication abilities may have evolved through comparable biological processes in very different animal lineages. Zebrafinch vocal learning research has revealed that these small birds possess cognitive abilities that were previously thought to exist only in much larger and more complex animals. The ability to learn intricate vocal patterns through social interaction practice and creative adaptation demonstrates sophisticated mental processes that challenge traditional assumptions about bird intelligence. These discoveries about avian vocal learning represent just one example of how animals have developed communication systems that operate according to principles we're only beginning to understand. The sophisticated vocal learning abilities found in zebra finches and other songbirds suggest that complex communication systems may be more widespread in the animal kingdom than scientists previously recognized. As researchers develop better methods for studying animal communication, they continue discovering that many species have evolved intricate social coordination systems that enable them to make collective decisions and organize group activities in major decisions efficient ways. Honeybees demonstrate remarkable collective intelligence through sophisticated decision-making processes that have evolved over millions of years. When bee colonies face critical choices like selecting new nest sites, they don't rely on random selection or individual preferences. Instead, they engage in complex group evaluations that involve multiple stages of information gathering and assessment. Recent research has revealed that these tiny insects possess cognitive abilities that allow them to process information, share knowledge, and reach consensus decisions that benefit their entire community. The decision-making process begins when scout bees venture out to explore potential locations for new colonies. These scouts don't just casually examine available sites, they conduct thorough evaluations that include assessing cavity size, entrance, quality protection, from weather and proximity to food sources. Each scout bee must gather detailed information about their chosen location and remember specific features that will be important for the colony's survival and success. The cognitive demands of this evaluation process require sophisticated memory systems and analytical abilities that were previously underestimated in insects. Scout bees communicate their findings through elaborate dance performances that convey precise information about distance, direction, and quality of potential nest sites. These dances aren't simple movements, but complex communication systems that include specific gestures and patterns representing different aspects of each location. The ability to translate spatial information into symbolic dance movements demonstrates abstract thinking capabilities that rival those found in much larger animals. Other bees in the colony must interpret these dance communications and use the information to make informed decisions about which sites deserve further investigation. The verification process involves additional bees visiting the sites promoted by different scouts to independently assess the quality of each option. These inspector bees don't simply accept the original scout's evaluation. Instead, they conduct their own thorough examinations and compare their findings with information presented in the dance communications. This fact-checking system ensures that decisions are based on accurate information rather than incomplete or biased assessments. The ability to cross-reference information from multiple sources demonstrates sophisticated cognitive processing that enables reliable group decision-making. Bees exhibit remarkable flexibility in their decision-making by changing their preferences when presented with new information or better alternatives. Scout bees who initially supported one location will abandon their first choice if they discover superior options during the evaluation process. This adaptability prevents colonies from committing to suboptimal decisions simply because they were made early in the process. The willingness to revise opinions based on updated evidence shows that bees can engage in rational thinking that prioritizes colony welfare over individual consistency. The consensus-building process involves monitoring support levels for different options until a clear preference emerges within the colony. Bees don't rely on arbitrary deadlines or simple majority votes. Instead, they use sophisticated sensing mechanisms to determine when sufficient agreement has been reached to proceed with implementation. This approach ensures that decisions reflect genuine colony-wide consensus rather than hasty choices made without adequate deliberation. The ability to recognize when enough information has been gathered and sufficient agreement achieved demonstrates advanced social cognition. Quality control measures prevent misinformation from influencing the decision-making process through multiple verification steps and transparent communication systems. Scout bees must provide accurate, detailed information about their proposed sites, and any attempts to misrepresent locations get quickly identified through the inspection process. The public nature of dance communications makes it impossible to hide important information or manipulate other colony members through deceptive presentations. This commitment to accuracy ensures that collective decisions are based on reliable facts rather than misleading information. When conflicts arise between equally attractive options, bees have developed procedures for resolving deadlocks without abandoning the decision-making process. Extended evaluation periods allow more scouts to examine competing sites and provide additional information that can help break ties. Sometimes larger inspection teams visit disputed locations to conduct more thorough comparative assessments that reveal subtle differences between options. The ability to handle complex decision scenarios demonstrates sophisticated problem-solving capabilities that enable effective group coordination. Bees can overturn previous decisions and restart the selection process when circumstances change or new information reveals problems with chosen locations. This flexibility allows colonies to adapt quickly to changing conditions rather than persisting with choices that no longer serve their best interests. The willingness to acknowledge mistakes and seek better alternatives shows that bee decision-making involves ongoing evaluation rather than rigid adherence to initial choices. This adaptability has likely contributed to the evolutionary success of social bee species across diverse environments. The efficiency of bee decision-making processes stems from their shared evolutionary interests and focus on practical outcomes rather than individual preferences or competing agendas. Every bee in the colony benefits from finding the best possible nest site, which eliminates conflicts of interest that might complicate human group decisions. The transparent communication systems and verification procedures ensure that all relevant information gets considered during the evaluation process. This combination of shared goals and reliable information processing enables rapid consensus building that produces optimal outcomes for the entire community. The cognitive abilities required for effective collective decision-making include sophisticated memory systems, episodic-like recall, and the capacity to learn through observation of other colony members. Bees can remember detailed information about multiple locations, compare different options based on various criteria, and modify their behavior based on new experiences. These mental capabilities demonstrate that even insects with relatively simple nervous systems can engage in complex reasoning processes when working together toward common goals. The success of bee colonies in making effective group decisions challenges traditional assumptions about the cognitive requirements for intelligent behavior and suggests that collective intelligence can emerge from the coordinated activities of many individuals with relatively modest individual capabilities. These discoveries about animal cognition represent a fundamental shift in how we understand intelligence across species. The 2025 research revealed that complex thinking abilities evolve separately in birds and mammals, which means intelligence isn't some rare accident that happened once, but emerged through convergent evolution at least twice in vertebrate history. Scientists found that avian and mammalian brains developed surprisingly similar neural circuits despite evolving completely independently from each other. The research also confirmed that cephalopods like octopuses have passed cognitive tests originally designed for human children, demonstrating that sophisticated problem-solving abilities can emerge from radically different neural architectures. These discoveries prove that animals have been operating with remarkable mental capabilities that we're only beginning to recognize and understand. Every time you see a crow solving puzzles or watch bees making collective decisions, you're witnessing forms of intelligence that challenge our assumptions about animal consciousness. Start paying attention to behaviors of animals around you, and you might notice cognitive abilities that science is just starting to document and appreciate.